Canada, polite no more, eh? The auto deal that stunned Washington. Canada. Yes, Canada. Our friendly, unassuming neighbor to the north. The land of maple syrup, apologies, and surprisingly aggressive geese. They've just done something rather un-Canadian. They've gone and signed a massive auto industry deal with China. Yes, China. The one America has a, shall we say, complicated relationship with. This isn't just some minor trade agreement about poutine recipes or discounted hockey pucks. This is about cars, factories, jobs, and a whole lot of geopolitical chess. And let me tell you, Washington did see this coming. The news dropped like a rogue moose into a perfectly calm, reflecting pool. 1 minute, everything's normal. The next, Canada is shaking hands with China on a deal that could reshape the North American auto landscape. Imagine the scene in the White House. Phones ringing off the hook, aides frantically Googling, "Is Canada allowed to do this?" The surprise isn't just that Canada made a deal, it's the sheer scale and the partner they chose. This move is bold, it's audacious, it's so un-Canadian, they might have to redesign their flag to include a slightly miffed beaver. This new Canada-China pact throws a rather large wrench, or perhaps a lug nut, into that well-oiled machine. It signals that Canada is looking for new dance partners, and they're not afraid to pick one that makes their old partner deeply uncomfortable. The ripples from this are going to be felt for a long, long time. So, what's actually this deal? Spoiler, it involves cars in China. Alright, let's pop the hood on this Canada-China agreement. What exactly have our polite northern friends cooked up with Beijing? From what we can gather, it's a comprehensive plan. We're talking about increased Chinese investment in Canadian auto manufacturing. Think new factories or existing ones getting a serious cash injection. We're also talking about easier access for Canadian auto parts and assembled vehicles into the massive Chinese market. And crucially, it seems there's a big focus on electric vehicles, or EVs, and the critical minerals needed to build them. Canada has those minerals, China wants them. It's a match made in economic heaven. The deal isn't just about shipping shiny new cars back and forth, it's about collaboration on research and development. It's about building supply chains that are less dependent on, well, you know who. This means Canadian factories could soon be churning out cars designed with Chinese tech, or using Chinese components, destined for markets all over the world. It's a strategic move to diversify, to build resilience. America's auto industry now with extra existential dread. So, Canada and China are new best buddies in the car business. How's that playing out south of the 49th parallel? Well, to put it mildly, the US auto industry is probably feeling a bit like it just got rear-ended by a very large, very quiet electric truck. For years, American automakers have relied on a relatively stable North American supply chain. This new deal? It's like Canada just built an express lane for Chinese auto interests, bypassing the US toll booths entirely. This could mean more competition, right in their backyard. And not just any competition, but competition supercharged by Chinese investment and scale. Section 4. Remember Trump's trade wars? Yeah, about those. Now, you can't talk about a major shift in North American trade, especially involving China, without mentioning the elephant that used to be in the room, Donald Trump, and his, shall we say, approach to trade policy. Remember those tariffs? The ones he slapped on everything from steel to washing machines? Often with our closest allies like Canada? Well, those actions have consequences, and this Canada-China deal might just be one of them. Trump's America First policy often translated to America alone. He picked fights with traditional partners, questioned long-standing alliances, and generally made international diplomacy feel like an episode of a particularly shouty reality TV show. While the goal was ostensibly to protect American jobs and industries, the methods often alienated the very countries the US needed as partners. So, when a country like Canada feels repeatedly targeted or taken for granted by its largest trading partner, what does it do? It starts looking for other options, it diversifies. Section 5. Why Canada and China are clinking champagne or maple syrup glasses. So while Washington is collectively scratching its head and possibly hyperventilating into a paper bag, why are Canada and China so pleased with themselves? Well, for Canada, the benefits are pretty clear. First off, money. Lots of it. Chinese investment means new factories, upgraded facilities, and more jobs for Canadians. In an increasingly competitive global economy, attracting that kind of capital is a huge win. Plus, they get to feel a bit smug, which for Canadians is a rare and cherished emotion. Then there's access to the Chinese market. China has a massive and growing middle class, all eager for new cars. For Canadian automakers and parts suppliers, this deal opens up a gigantic new customer base. This isn't just about selling a few more cars, it's about tapping into one of the largest consumer markets on the planet. It's a potential gold rush, but with electric vehicles instead of pickaxes and pans. For China, the deal is equally attractive. Section 6 EVs, the spark plugs of this whole Trans-Pacific tango. Now we've touched on this, but it really deserves its own spotlight: electric vehicles. EVs are not just a part of this Canada-China deal, they are, in many ways, the supercharged engine driving it. The global auto industry is undergoing a massive transformation, shifting from smelly old gasoline guzzlers to sleek, silent electric machines. And this transition is where Canada and China see a massive opportunity to collaborate and frankly get ahead of the curve. Forget the horsepower wars of the past. The future is all about kilowatt hours and charging speeds. And this deal is plugged right into that future. Canada, as we've mentioned, is sitting on a treasure trove of critical minerals. The stuff that makes EV batteries go whir: lithium, graphite, nickel, cobalt. Canada has them in spades. But having rocks in the ground is one thing. Turning them into high-tech batteries in cars is another. Section 7, the global car market. Buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride. So, what does this all mean for the bigger picture? For the global auto market? Well, the short answer is, things are about to get a lot more interesting, and probably a lot more competitive. This Canada-China deal isn't happening in a vacuum. It's a sign of shifting alliances, new economic realities, and the relentless pace of technological change, especially with the rise of electric vehicles. The old rules of the auto game are being rewritten, and not everyone is going to like the new playbook. Fasten your seatbelts, because we're likely in for some turbulence. One major implication is the potential for new trade blocs and supply chains to emerge. For decades, the auto industry was dominated by a few major players and established regional networks. This deal shows that countries are willing to forge new partnerships, even if it ruffles some feathers. We could see more bilateral agreements like this one as nations try to secure their own economic futures in a rapidly changing world. It's like the global economy is playing a game of musical chairs, and everyone is scrambling to find a seat before the music stops.